Hello everyone, Brian here, doing a little more work on Milan Cathedral and a couple of things maybe to show you this afternoon. So I've been working on the north and the south transepts and the tower. And what is of interest? Well, in the north and the south transepts, when you cut this piece, this is all one piece that you wrap around, but when you cut this piece out, there are two little tabs here with no markings on them, just clear tabs on this side and on this side. And you might wonder what that is. They don't have a squiggle mark here indicating that something gets glued on top of them. They're just these two clear little tabs. And, so the first thing I thought is, oh yeah, they're there to hold the roof. So the roof sits on top of them. But what I found as I was putting it together, the other thing you might think is, oh, well, they're unnecessary. I can just cut them off. But what I found is those two things fold over. Probably can't see it here. They fold over here on the gable end, and what they do is they provide a spacer for you so that you get the angle of the roof just right, and the roof only goes up as far as it's supposed to. If the roof were sitting right level with the edge of this, then the gutters, which come right up to the edge here, would actually be too high and you'd have gaps. So it's not like you couldn't place this roof without those guides, but they make the whole thing a whole lot easier. So when you see little tabs like that on gable ends, that's what's going on there, is you're getting a spacer to make your life a little easier. So we put together the north and the south transepts, and then I got to work on the tower. Now the tower is all, with the exception of the roof piece, which is actually 4 pieces that's set in here. This is one flat sheet that gets folded all over itself and then gets glued up on this seam over here. And I actually have a rubber band up here holding that, just making sure over time the glue sets okay. By the way, that rubber band, I'm not going to try and take it off this way. I'm certainly not going to take it off this way where I've got these points. I am simply going to snip it. I don't dare ruin these things up here, and it just seems like it would be a pain to try and slide it all the way down here. So anyway, when this was one big flat piece, there was, this was all solid. And not only were these all solid, but there was another piece under them. So you had a piece here, and then these were mirrored upside down on this side, coming to an end here. And so what you did is you folded it over so that you'd have the detail of the spires on the front and on the back. So just a couple of tricks with that. After you fold it over, it's all one big piece of cardboard going up to the tops of these. And so you have to come in and you have to actually cut out, in between all of these. And these are delicate little things. So that took time. I did it while it was still a flat piece after it had been folded over, but it took a while. And a couple of things about that. One is, make sure you've got, on detail work like that, a fresh, brand new number 11 X-Acto blade. If X-Acto is what you're using, make sure you have a fresh blade. It's going to make your life a whole lot easier, and it's going to it's going to prevent any tearing that might here. It's going to give you very clean cuts and allow you to do that detail work. The other thing is, make sure you're using a metal ruler when you're doing that work, and always keep the ruler on top of the piece you want to hold on to. You put it on there and apply a little downward pressure. It's going to keep you going in a straight line. It's going to prevent any tearing here if you don't have a really fresh blade. You really want to make sure that you're doing this very, very carefully, because it would look bad if these came off. The other thing that happened, I don't know how to describe this, I didn't think of filming it at the time, But because you folded over a piece of cardboard, and so you've got the cardboard, you've got double width. You've got cardboard on this side, and you folded it over so that you could get the detail back here. Well, now you've got a double width of cardstock there. And when I came in and did the scoring, I scored all the way up here, going all the way across the piece before it was folded over. So it is all scored as if it's going to be a mountain fold like this, that I'm going to fold it away from each other. But as soon as you bend it over, that piece wants to bend in this direction rather than that direction. So really what I needed to do is I needed to score up on this side to the line of the fold over, and then I wanted to go in on the other side and score on that side of that one, but I wanted to do even more than that. So when so what I had is, let's say this is a lot thinner than what I had, but if this was my line right here, so if this was my fold over line, and the seam was right across here, then what I would have wanted to do is come all the way up there to do a score like that, and then I would put a pinhole here and a pinhole to wherever that goes up here. Let's say that's the other end right there. I would turn it over, I would line up the two pinholes, and I would score it on that side. Now when I fold it over, they're both ready to go in the same direction. They're both ready to fold like that. They're both scored that way. But the other thing I would want to do here is on my valley side of the fold, I'm trying to bunch up a double width of cardboard here. And so an even better thing to do over here would be, and I would normally do this with the little metal ruler. Let's get on the camera so you can see it. I'm a little far away, it's going to be hard seeing it anyway. What I would have wanted to do is I would have wanted to create a little space here for the depth of that fold. I actually would have wanted to cut away, and I would do it when it was open. All right, hold on. Let's say that's it, right? I've come up, I've scored on one side, on the front, I've scored the top that I'm going to fold over on the back. Then ultimately I'm going to fold it over, and I'm going to try and fold it in half like that, and the cardboard's going to want to bunch up here on the valley side of that fold. So what I'm going to want to do before I fold it all over is I want to come in and I want to cut out just a line here. I want to get rid of the cardstock just wide enough so that when I do that fold, the cardboard's not bunching in on itself. So there we go. I've created just a little crease there. So then when these get folded over and glued, I've got a little space between them. Now I can much more easily fold along that line I made before. And it's not going to be a problem to fold it down here because it's single width. But up there, because I've made that little spacer in there, this will also fold over a lot easier. Otherwise, this is going to have a nice crease, and this is going to kind of bunch up and be more curved. So that, needs to be done on each of these corners. And I don't know that that's obvious in the directions. That's just, just kind of a paper model thing, or at least, I say that like I'm an expert. I've said before I'm relatively new at this. It seems to me that's the way you handle things like this. So that was all very confusing, and I apologize. The other thing that I've tried to be very careful with is making sure all of the pieces are square and flat. And I've worked very carefully based on the Milan Cathedral experience, where there was a lot of wonkiness to the model, and it's because I was not very careful about having everything square and flat. So here's the thing. Even though I thought that this was all square and flat. When I glued this up, whether because perhaps it was not, or maybe it was that my seam down on this side I didn't do perfectly square. I'm in a situation now where where the top is square, I don't know if you can see this. It doesn't really show you in the camera very well, but I'll emphasize it. I'm like this. It's a parallelogram on the bottom, even though it's square on the top. That's not going to work out real well when I try and glue this up together, because I've got square things on all sides, and I don't want the model tilting. I don't want things to be sideways, and so how am I going to handle that? Well, as you can see, both sides here, the north and south sides, you've got your gluing tabs on the edge. So those gluing tabs are going to go all the way along here. I have an opportunity here, and I did so, to slice this right down the center so that I can keep the top square and I can adjust the bottom so it is also square. And you see what that does. That makes one side pop out a little bit while the other side stays where it is. But that gives me the opportunity to make this perfectly square on the bottom and on the top. I'm going to glue along the edges here, so this isn't going to matter. I've still got my gluing tabs on the bottom, so it's not going to matter. And now I can make the whole tower perfectly straight. So all I did was made a cut right up to about here, which seemed to be as far as I needed to go to make this happen. And now I should be in good shape. So anyway, the point there, be really careful, test fit everything, make sure things are sitting flat and square and looking the way you want them. Before you commit to gluing everything up, make sure you're not going to have problems down the road. So there you go. A little bit more progress on Wells Cathedral, and the next time you see it, we'll have hopefully the crossing tower and the transepts glued up and maybe connected to the east end. So anyway, this has been a long one for me, but thank you for joining me, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye. Here's an addendum, everyone. After I got done gluing it all up together, I ended up not doing just a slit on the north side, but as you can see, I ended up taking quite a bit out of the east and west sides, and even out of the north and south sides, to get this to stand straight and not have any curve to it. So there you go. Again, getting these things to stand up and join together properly. And I've still got to find a way to join these two together closely. So the journey is not over yet, but working out all the ways these things go together and all the curves and bends in them so that they sit flat and generally look good takes a little bit of experimentation. So there you go, just an addendum so you can see how that ended up working out. I'm reasonably happy with it. We'll see how it all goes together and look for that in the next video. So once again, bye-bye.